The government knows what is happening. Our military knows where they took off from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
When President Trump says that they know, you can be assured that they know.
Right.
And they're not saying. This is historic. What that means is there's got to be a cover-up. There's got to be information from the Defense Department that we need to know.
Another week, another big victory for President Trump. This time ABC News and George Stephanopoulos have eaten dust. The network will pay $15 million to settle a defamation suit over this interview with Congresswoman Nancy Mace.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. This was a civil court. It was a civil court. And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money, and I find that offensive.
I'm asking you
about the man. But as a rape victim who's been shamed for years now because of her rape, you're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again and again and again.
I think it's offensive.
Well, it turned out it was actually Stephanopoulos who was doing the repeating. Again and again, he claimed falsely that Trump was found liable for rape. For that, a brick in the future Trump presidential library will have George Stephanopoulos and ABC News etched into it. Now, lawyers for Trump and two of his high-profile cabinet picks, Pete Hegseth and Kash Patel, are warning that false claims about them could face a similar fate. And in a similar reversal of spirits, a flurry of tech titans, including Amazon and Meta, are shelling out big bucks for Trump's inauguration fund. Today, the president-elect is unveiling plans to slash corporate tax and regulations in a day-one plan to turn around the economy. He's also accusing outgoing President Biden of selling off sections of the border wall to deliberately harm his immigration-cutting plans.
Now, we ordered an additional 200 miles of wall. It's very expensive. And now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act.
In a moment, we'll debate the tidal wave of knee-bending and ring-kissing, as well as Trump's announcement that the golden age of America has begun. But we'll begin with the escalating mystery of unidentified drones spotted over New Jersey and the East Coast. Dozens of sightings over the past month have sparked alarm and consternation. Incoming President Trump said this weekend, can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know and now, otherwise shoot them down. Well, joining me now is the New Jersey State Senator, Jon Bramnick. Senator, thank you very much indeed for joining me. It's all very bizarre, I have to say. Looking at this situation from across the pond, we're all thinking, what on earth is happening in America with these drones, and why is nobody saying?
Well, it started with some questions, then it became humorous, and then what happened was the size of these drones, the locations of these drones, started to make people pretty nervous. And then what you've seen recently, which is amazing, more bipartisanship than I've ever seen in the history of America. You've got Schumer and Trump on the same page. You have Governor Christie and Governor Murphy in New Jersey, Democrats and Republicans, all calling for the same answers from the government. This is historic. What that means is there's got to be a cover-up. There's got to be information from the Defense Department that we need to know. And now the Defense Department is not going to have any choice because both sides of the aisle are demanding answers. So either the Defense Department doesn't know, which is scary, or they know and they're not telling us. This isn't going to last much longer because of the bipartisan outrage.
OK, I want to play a clip from President-elect Trump today where he talks about the drones.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
I mean, it's hard not to agree with him because it's so baffling to me that the world's #1 military superpower seems utterly powerless with a few drones in the air and can't even explain what they are. It doesn't instill in me a great sense of security for the people of America, does it? Does it you?
Of course. Now, President Trump also said that he may not go to Bedminster. And as you know, that's where he has his golf course and he spends a lot of time. So this would be the first time that if he invites anybody to Bedminster to play golf, they're probably not going because he doesn't want to go either. So here's the bottom line here. A former president of the United States says the government knows. So what does this mean? Whatever this secret was, whatever this planning was, whatever the photos that these drones are taking or testing, it must be so secret that they don't want us to know because it might have, and it may cause people to be more scared than seeing big drones. So this has to be pretty serious. Now, the other thing I find interesting is the Homeland Security Secretary is answering questions. Why isn't the Department of Defense answering those questions? They're the ones who have the information. That tells you you're not getting all the information. Homeland Security, they don't have the Air Force. They don't have those technical issues. What they have is information they get from the Department of Defense. We met with Homeland Security. They knew nothing. Zero.
It's so weird. I mean, what does your gut feeling tell you this is all about?
The government is either testing or looking for something, or the worst scenario is they don't know what's going on.
Right.
But that's hard to believe. When President Trump says they know, you can be assured that they know.
Right.
And they're not saying it.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's a fascinating story. Senator Bramnick, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you, Piers.
Well, joining me now are entrepreneur and Trump supporter Grant Cardone, the host of the Luke Beasley Show, Luke Beasley, the streamer and commentator Destiny, and the spokesperson for the Turning Point USA, Caitlin Sinclair. Let me start with you, Caitlin. What is going on with these drones? It is very odd, the whole thing.
Yes, Piers, I think this is one example, or I would say a microcosm of what has been happening on such a larger scale across this country, where you have the mainstream media, where you have the government elites telling the American people, don't believe your lying eyes. We had Alexandra Mayorkas being sent to be the media's darling this past weekend, Piers, going on all of the weekend shows, telling us there's nothing to see here. We had Adam Kinzinger tweeting out this morning on the show saying, the drones are actually airplanes, nothing to see here. So the American people have every right to ask questions. This is a rhetoric that they've been told for the past 4 years. Don't believe your lying eyes, don't believe your lying ears, and they have every right to get answers to these questions. It's really hard for the American people to sit back and believe that the government can find the grandma who took a selfie on January 6th at the Capitol 4 years ago, but they can't figure out who's flying drones above New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny, this is probably not your normal wheelhouse of expertise, but as an American, are you not a bit freaked out by all this?
No, I mean, like, FAA regulations happen so that drones can fly pretty high. We're in a pretty weird area right now where these are becoming, like, commercially available to consumers for the first time in a long time. A lot of the pictures and a lot of the video that is being shown is literally like airplane footage. Like, you can see the FAA lights like that are done to regulation on these ships, but some people still insist on saying they're UFOs or coming from an Iranian mothership. I don't see any, I guess, like, upside to baselessly speculating on what it is. I think people have a right to ask questions, of course, and we'll wait until we get, I guess, better answers about who it is.
But the longer we don't get told, are you not slightly twitchy that there's something very odd going on?
Not really. No, there's a billion different things that you could photograph at any point in the country, at any point in time. I don't know why we're obsessed with feeling like we're constantly under threat of being, destroyed or invaded by drones or invaded by, manufactured hurricanes or George Soros or it's just like the fear economy where we have to be afraid of every single new video that's posted. Like, if these things started shooting missiles at us or something crazy like that happened, then yeah, that would be a huge problem, obviously. But I assume, and it's been stated by the authorities in New Jersey, that the federal government is looking into it. All you do is wait for answers.
I mean, Grant, what should be done about them in the meantime? I mean, people are going to start taking action, aren't they? They're going to start shooting at these things, aren't they?
Number one, the reason to be fearful is late 2019, it was whispered that there was a thing called COVID being exported. A bat didn't know where it was coming from, this place called Wuhan. A year later, by the way, Donald Trump loses the election because of mail-in ballots, conveniently. And here we are today, after an election, before an inauguration. We have drones flying at night, not during the day. That would suggest infrared, looking for something. I would suggest a black swan event is being planned to disrupt Donald Trump in year one and to put him back on his heels. So when Destiny says everybody's scared, George Soros, dude, there's plenty of reasons for America to be on high alert right now. The U.S. government should be trusted with one thing, to lie to the American people, because they repeatedly lie to the American people.
All right, Luke Beasley, I mean, that's a pretty...
When Trump is the government, does he lie to the American people too, or is it just when Democrats are president?
Right now, we're talking about drones over New Jersey that no one can explain, and you want to make sense of it. Okay, the reason you can't shoot them out of the air.
COVID in 2019. That was Trump who was president, right? That was his administration. So did Trump lie to us about COVID coming?
I don't think you nor anybody on the panel or anyone listening or watching right now suggests that Donald Trump created the Wuhan virus.
I never said that, but you said that apparently people knew about it. It's just weird that right now the current administration is being blamed.
Drones by law cannot fly above 400 feet by law. So look, we know we see something in the sky, right? You agree with that? What is it?
Most of the videos,
that I've seen.
All right, let me bring in. Hang on, let me bring in Luke, because you've been listening to this. I mean, look, Grant. On one level, you might say, well, Grant's just putting out conspiracy theories, but that's what happens. Yeah, but okay, you don't actually know that because we don't have the official explanation, and the longer it goes on, the more theories are going to fly around, and one of them, by the way, one of them is going to be right.
Yeah, but I mean, like the official
story.
Hang
on, let me bring in Luke. Hang on, Destiny. Let me bring in Luke.
That's kind of the whole way that people like Grant do media, is you make a bunch of these bold predictions. People forget months later when the thing you said never actually happened. So there's going to be some sort of crazy thing that hurts Trump's first year, and the drones are a part of that. He can just lightly throw that out, freak people out. We'll probably get a more clear answer that's not that provocative very quickly, and then Grant will move on and keep making more predictions. People like him, I don't know actually him specifically, but I've heard sort of in the MAGA space a lot of bold statements right before the election about how the Democrats were never going to accept it. There's no way they would possibly accept the election results, and they immediately do, as we talked about last time I was on here. So again, these false predictions are kind of nauseating, and it's not going to be that one I can tell you. But then I'll also say that a lot of the videos
hang on, Luke. Let me just say, when it comes to false predictions, how about this one? I will never pardon my son, Hunter Biden. It's not going to happen.
That was a
It will not happen. The president's not going to do it. What's the matter with you people? It's not going to happen. What happened to that false prediction?
And the day he said,
I missed the crazy Piers Morgan.
Look how triggered you all get when I point that out. Look how you know the worst thing about what Joe Biden did there?
No.
He basically has caused you guys to go into a triggering anaphylactic shock now for the rest of your natural lives. Because by doing what he did, he just ruined it for you. He ruined it.
For us, we actually stand on principle. So I don't know about Destiny's take on this, but I've said he shouldn't have done that.
Good.
And it seems like he misled us whenever he said he wasn't going to, because we actually can criticize the person who represents, our party during a time. Whereas on your end, you'll flip-flop on every single principle to stay and defend.
Hang on, when you say my end, I don't have an end, mate. I'm British. Just remind you.
I know.
Let me go to change the topic to the ABC Trump defamation case. I mean, Caitlin,
wait, can we ask Grant? Let's say the story comes out. Let's say the government, because he said he's waiting for an official story. Let's say the government comes out and they say, "Oh, it was irresponsible hobbyists. We've ascertained this."
Yep.
Would Grant even accept that story, or we insist that there's something more going on?
I'll buy you dinner every night for 365 days in a row if that comes true.
Wow.
That is
okay, so you won't even answer the question. This is what I mean. It's just like it's all conspiratorial nonsense.
But you can't expect people to just hypothetically. I mean, the only person that gives a kind of blanket thing like that is Biden when he's pardoning his mates. It's like you can't just give a blanket thing.
Pardoning anybody has to do with this.
All right, but
It's
look,
a simple question.
Piers,
If the government came out with an official story, would you even believe it? The answer is no, unless Donald Trump says it. Then I guess
actually,
you
I
believe
think you should
whatever he
view. I think you should view everything that comes out of the government with a lot of skepticism, healthy skepticism, actually. So the answer would be, I hear you. Let's make sure that is what happened. Would be my honest response. But that's
is there any single thing that either of the two MAGA panelists have heard from Donald Trump that they don't believe ever in the 4 years of him in government and the 4 years out?
It's really bold of you. It's really bold of you and Luke to just classify and generalize the MAGA population. Yeah, there is an answer, actually. On November 5th, there was a mandate from the American people to actually question our government, to actually dismantle some of these three-letter agencies. That was a mandate from the American people. So, yes, I think we have every right to question what we're told.
Well, why don't we get to what I want?
Hang on, you don't have a right to question what you're
I want to move to another topic.
Let's get to the ABC story, because I have some personal data about it.
Well, here's the thing we have heard about Trump, which turned out that we couldn't believe, even though it came from George Stephanopoulos. Caitlin, this is the ABC defamation payment of $15 million to President-elect Trump to settle a defamation lawsuit after Stephanopoulos repeatedly said he'd been found liable for rape, which he had not. This is a big settlement by ABC, including an apology. Very, very humiliating for Stephanopoulos. But he was so self-righteous in that interview as well, despite being, as it turned out, completely wrong in what he was saying.
Yeah, it looks like we're triggering some people on this panel, Piers. I think the women on The View have their panties in a knot right now after this case with ABC. The mainstream media is on notice now. And again, that plays into the mandate that we found on November 5th in the American people, saying they're sick of the hypocrisy, they're sick of the lies, they're sick of the mainstream media feeding them information that is absolutely false. And look, Kamala Harris had over 80 billionaires. She had the entire legacy media. She had all of the Hollywood elites, most of big tech, and she still lost. And she lost everything. So again, this is a mandate from the American people about what they want, and they want to dismantle the legacy media here.
Okay, Destiny, it is a crushing blow for Trump against the legacy media, whichever way you dress it up. If you're going to posture that Trump, as a lot of people in mainstream media do, he's a terrible liar, you've got to hold him to account, blah, 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 blah. If you hold him to account in the wrong manner, and you end up giving him $15 million and a groveling apology, that's a terrible thing, isn't it, for mainstream media?
It's a pretty small payout for a defamation lawsuit, considering the stakes of this particular lawsuit.
Trump's a big man.
My guess is
that's because Trump allowed the settlement.
Trump is not a big man. Trump is a coward. Okay, Trump is
a
not a
huge
big
man.
He's a little
boy. Could have been $1 billion lawsuit.
Okay, don't all talk at once.
And again,
Destiny?
like the last question I asked, neither a conservative, neither a MAGA person on here will answer, which is, do you disagree with anything that Trump did in his 4 years, or is there anything that he said that you didn't believe? Neither side will answer that. Okay, but the second thing is too, when you say this was a when you say that this was a crushing blow, okay, to the legacy media, what do we think about the $800 million that Fox News paid out when they lied about the Dominion voting machines?
What's that got to do with this?
Is a lie that both these MAGA people
Why do you
probably
always
still believe
distract? Why do you always distract Destiny?
That's what you just
Do you know what? Sometimes it would be very...
Hang on.
Sometimes, Destiny, rather than distract... Hang on, Luke. Rather than distract constantly, Destiny, it would be so much more effective. And I like you know I do. If you just said, you know what? On this one, ABC got it wrong. Big mistake. Paid a big check.
ABC did not get it wrong. That's not even true.
Well, why they apologized and paid him $15 million?
Because they didn't want to go through discovery and months of a lawsuit.
Why though?
Why? To pull licenses for people in the media. He said that Stephanopoulos said that he felt like Trump raped her, that he raped the woman. She was held liable for rape. He penetrated her with his fingers. Now in New York, I think the civil statute or whatever is for sexual assault and not rape per se. But like, it's not like he was wrong. He's not paying up because he thinks that he lied about what he said.
He was wrong. It was not. It was not liable for rape.
It's obvious that Trump's constant promises to go after the outlets that wrong him, his constant promises to get the government to come down hard, his quote, not mine, on MSNBC, is what now outlets, unfortunately, like ABC, are afraid of. So they're wanting this to be over quickly, as opposed to going to war with Trump, who's explicitly targeted them. And it's crazy that y'all are more outraged that Stephanopoulos used one term that in common parlance is synonymous with sexual assault, instead of the fact that Trump was found liable. Trump was found liable of sexual abuse. No, the judge.
I'm sorry, Luke.
Just laugh and then go.
Luke, you're making exactly the
clarified.
You're making the same mistake,
Luke.
Means. With respect, you're making the same mistake. It is not the same thing. Otherwise, there would not be different categories.
Why did the judge clarify
Hang on. there would not be different categories of sexual assault and rape. They are different crimes. So if you accuse somebody of the more serious offence of rape, wrongly, repeatedly, in an interview, as Stephanopoulos did, that is defamation and has now cost him and his network $15 million.
That is absolutely
so you're right
not
that there's
defamation.
there's
absolutely
a specification.
not.
There's a specification between
what
the jury's deciding on sexual.
Settlement.
Hey, you guys, neither one of you guys know anything about a libel case. Okay,
Wait,
this is a defamation
how about
case.
the two MAGA people on the panel? Are you as outraged that Trump was found liable for sexual abuse?
Hang on, let Grant respond. Let Grant respond.
Yeah.
Alex Brito is Donald Trump's lawyer on this defamation case. They settled this case in less time than when I filed a defamation case against T-Mobile, the CEO of T-Mobile, for $100 million. We will win the entire thing, by the way. Donald Trump could have got way more than $15 million. That's why I said, Destiny, he's a big man. You can't swallow that he's a big man, but he's a big man that he put this behind him because he's got bigger fish to fry, which is to make America the great country it can be. And that's what he's focused on right now. He's going to take his $15 million, throw it in a charity.
Yeah, but
Destiny,
hang on. Destiny, you talk about cowardice.
This is a massive win.
A massive win. $15 million.
Yeah, but Destiny, here's the point. But Destiny, you call Trump a coward. What could be more cowardly if, as you say, there was no defamation, Stephanopoulos was right, what could be more cowardly than a major... Hang on, Luke, I'm not talking to you. What could be more cowardly, Destiny, than a major network in America, mainstream media network, just caving to Donald Trump and giving him a big check?
Is this a game we're playing? Maybe the other people, Luke might know. I don't know about the other two morons here. You're a big boy. You work in this field, and I know that you're old enough to be smart enough to know this. I don't know. We're just playing a game right now, okay? If you have a defamation case facing you like that, you know that discovery could unveil who knows what. Not necessarily illegal conduct, but just stuff that can go to the press that might make you look bad. Trump might get more than $15 million of earned media just from the treasure troves of the discovery process of that case. Why not just pay out $15 million and walk away from it? By the way, if you were falsely accused of rape and that was a totally false accusation, do you really think that Donald Trump, a guy who has spent how many hundreds of millions of dollars between all of his different lawsuits, would walk away with $15 million? Of course not. He would have gone for way more if he thought he had a legitimate case there, but that's probably about how much they were willing to settle, knowing that they could avoid the discovery process. You know this, Piers.
And just to add one other point on this, because I brought it up multiple times with you, Piers, I would love to get an answer on it relating to this. Is there any outrage? Is there any outrage that Trump today was saying, yeah, and this is just the beginning, we're going to go after all these different outlets, and Seltzer for doing a poll that Trump didn't like, Trump says he wants to go after, and he specifically said the government should come down hard on MSNBC. That's exactly against what I know the two other MAGA folks on the panel say constantly about their principles, which is pro-freedom of the press, but then Trump's constantly talking about the press in ways that prove that's very much not his
I think if on the Democrat side, if you go after someone like Donald Trump relentlessly and you try and imprison him relentlessly and you try and ruin his life and you try and do everything you can to destroy him and incarcerate him, and then he wins and he flatlines you all in the election, a little part of him is probably thinking, there's going to be a bit of pain, going to be a bit of payback. Sorry.
Pierce, all right, cool. I like the Constitution, unlike y'all then. I don't know.
And meanwhile, your guy, President Biden, is out there pardoning half of America, including his criminal son. So the high moral ground is just disintegrated.
None of that is unconstitutional. And by the way, Hunter Biden is not even implicated in crimes related to Joe Biden.
Wait, how is that not just...
Well, hang on. Actually, Destiny. Actually, hang on.
You're not the big guy.
Actually, that's...
The entire investigation was
you
based
don't
off
know
a lie.
that.
Is that covered here?
You don't know that.
Nope,
and the beauty...
won't talk about it.
You don't know that. And the beauty of the all-encompassing thing that Biden did from going back to 2014 is it covers all potential crimes from 2014.
Republicans have been investigating those
hang on. The Hunter Biden could have committed, which we don't know, but may have included the big guy being Joe Biden. So he's protecting himself as well.
8 years they had, and they found nothing. With all the subpoena power, all the congressional subcommittees, Donald Trump's FBI, Donald Trump's DOJ, 8 years and nothing. Not a thing.
Destiny, I get the feeling you're struggling with this Trump win, the scale of it.
I'm not struggling at all. I just struggle with the fact that people are so comfortable lying with impunity because they never get called out on these shows. It drives me insane.
Yeah, but when your side lie, like George Stephanopoulos, you don't call it lying. So what is a lie? Is a lie only when Republicans lie?
In common parlance that was rape. Yes, I think it's totally
Piers,
fine to say
the
that.
judge
not. It
clarified
wasn't
that.
rape.
The judge literally clarified that that's the case. What Destiny just said, the judge literally clarified that the way we speak about these terms in a legal sense, it's not, but in the way we speak commonly about these words, what Trump was found liable of is what we refer to as rape, even if in a legal sense that's not what he was found liable for.
Do you want me to send Trump a clip of you saying that?
That is
Send it.
not
Send it.
what
Shoot
the
it. Come
judge
for me,
said at
Trump.
all.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean,
You know, it's so funny.
They can accept service. Sue
Caitlin?
me. Yeah, what do you mean?
I won't be cowards like ABC.
It's so funny how you gentlemen keep referring to us as the MAGA people on this panel. You call us morons. I'm going to start referring to you gentlemen as snowflakes over there. Maybe you haven't looked at the post-election polling in this country, but guess what? The men in this country, the young men in this country, showed up for Donald Trump in droves. And you want to know why, gentlemen? Because they were sick of being emasculated, because they were sick of being lied to, and they were sick of being guilty until proven innocent. The real men in this country I'm talking to, maybe not alluding to.
You're going to trigger them.
Huh?
Triggered.
You guys,
I don't even know what that
don't even
point meant,
accept
but
the
okay.
outcome of the 2020 election, and you're trying to say we're triggered. You guys are the biggest babies in the history of all of mankind. Like, I don't know what.
Which is why you're the one resorting to name calling, right? You're so triggered, you just resort to name calling.
If I call a moron, that means I'm triggered? What does that make Donald Trump, who literally has nicknames for every single political opponent he has, then?
What do you think he'd call you, Destiny?
I don't know. I got a lot of nicknames online, so who knows?
There's an interesting thing coming. Sorry, pardon my lurgy, as I call it. Trump has threatened legal action against the Biden administration over sales of portions of the border wall. He's talked to the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, about a potential restraining order. Let's have a listen to this clip.
Now, we ordered an additional 200 miles of wall. It's very expensive. And now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act.
Yeah, I mean, Grant, there's a lot of activity on that border, obviously, but that specific point that Trump makes about the Biden administration selling portions of it, what do you make of that?
Well, they're just sabotaging his ability to put that wall up. It's costing the taxpayer dollars. It's just a complete waste of money. You literally have supplies down there that have been paid for by taxpayer money. It's, I don't know, $150 million worth of wall down there that was abandoned. And now they're going to sell that. So he's got to go back and repurchase that 8 years later at new prices. It's a sabotage, okay? The other side, these guys over here, I'm sorry, Caitlin, you said they're not men, so I can't call them men. So you guys will do anything to sabotage this MAGA movement, which is not a Republican movement, by the way. This is Make America Great Again. And this country has more resources, more opportunities. The first 90 days when he gets in office, Piers, is going to be phenomenal for this country. I don't know if it converts these guys, but the country's going to get on board with this thing.
Okay, Destiny, here's what I would say generally about the reaction to Trump's win. It's been noticeable for the extreme lack of any protests. No marches, no big protests. It's like you guys have just thrown the towel in. Have you given up collectively? The resistance seems to be over.
Trump won the election. What are you going to do? I guess
well,
if you're
last time
conservative
you
and the
took to
other
the
side wins
streets
the
en
election,
masse
then I guess
around
you try
America.
to overturn it or you try to coup the government like they tried last time. But no, you're a Democrat. You go back to work. That's all you could do. Wait till the next election. Wait till midterms.
Yeah,
do what you can.
Why is that your
Democrats
takeaway,
work?
Piers? That doesn't make any sense.
No, I'll tell you what's my takeaway.
How
Because
much
I
they
think that
respect the election results. It's so weird.
No, because last time you didn't. Last time you took to the streets in massive numbers in city after city around America, protesting and screaming about Trump. This time there's been nothing. It just makes me think you've all lost the stomach for the fight.
I feel like last time you told me that people were crying on the internet.
What's that, Luke?
I think last time we went over this, you said that there are a lot of liberals crying and we're sensitive and we're combusting.
Well, there's a few of you left on the internet, but that's about it. But when it comes to any sort of...
We're going to get to work on trying to oppose his bad policies when they pop up. There's just no need to have the MAGA-type hyperbolic reaction where you get violent or where you question the results for 4 years and stuff like that.
Right. You don't think that's how you all reacted in 2016 when you won?
Do you think that's how the
That's not
conservatives
how I
acted in
reacted.
2020 when they tried to steal the election?
Well, 2020.
That'll be overturned, by the way.
Well, just to be clear, Trump did, in my
The 2020
estimation,
election?
Just to be clear, Trump did not have the election stolen. Trump lost the election in 2020 because of the pandemic. I told him this to his face. Caitlin, this whole issue of the border, I mean, it is staggering that nearly 10 million people came in illegally in the Biden administration, the 4 years. I mean, it's staggering.
Yeah, Piers, I'm sitting here in Manhattan where Tom Homan recently had a meeting with Democrat Mayor Eric Adams, who announced that we have 500,000 missing migrant children on the border. That number started at 100,000 and went up to 300,000, and now the number they're giving us is 500,000, which leads me to believe that number's closer to 1 million children that are missing on the border. So that should really concern all Americans.
10 million by the end of the conversation?
7-year-old.
Jesus.
You had a 7-year-old that was just murdered by an illegal alien. She is part of the black community, a 7-year-old. You didn't see Kamala Harris taking to Twitter, where she took to Twitter to talk about George Floyd dying over 24 times. She didn't mention the 7-year-old's name not once. Where's BLM now, Piers? And you want to call this MAGA hyperbole or narrative? Really, is it MAGA hyperbole when Laken Riley was murdered, when Molly Tibbetts was murdered? When Rachel Morin was murdered?
What
about
these
young
of people
women
dying
that were
to illegal immigrants, and it's like the same name brought up for a whole year? Do we not have any new people killed by illegals, or what?
Oh, do those lives not matter?
Murderers that
Do those
came
lives
in.
not
How is
matter?
nobody else died but Laken Riley? She's the only one, or are they all named Laken Riley? What the fuck?
All right, Destiny, out of interest, how many illegal
I'm
immigrants...
sure her family will appreciate that.
Yeah, listen, out of interest,
about that.
Destiny, how many illegal immigrants would you be comfortable coming in to America next year, 2025?
I mean, the ideal number is as close to zero as possible.
Okay, so you agree with Trump?
No, because Trump isn't doing anything to address the illegal immigrant
Would he
problem.
like it to be zero as well? So you agree, in principle, you agree.
I'm sure you'll. I'm sure
Trump
everyone
doesn't
panel
know
will.
we don't
selling
have a
our border
problem in this
wall.
country
Sure.
right now. For anybody
Selling
that
our
cares,
border wall
and
like
Hang on,
it's a
don't talk
yard
over
sale.
each other.
Is
Let
definitely
Destiny
doing
answer. Destiny?
Yeah, no, we don't. The issue that we have right now is not with illegal immigrants. It's going to be fixed with a stupid wall. The issue that we have right now is with the asylum-seeking process. Donald Trump and all the MAGA people are too stupid to even understand how the process works. So we're never going to fix it under Trump, unless the Democrats manage to push some legislation that the Republicans agree with, and Trump stumbles
And you
into
think
and
you got
signs.
fixed under the Democrats, do you, in the last 4 years?
No, but they had a bill that was ready to go in the House and the Senate, and Biden was ready to sign it, and then Trump pulled the plug on it. So.
All right, so it's Trump's fault.
Trump, who
Okay,
wasn't in
quickly, can I
office.
just jump in?
Definitionally is.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz, Mitch
Just
McConnell, people, Langford came
quickly.
out and literally said, yes,
All right,
we had a bill
Luke,
ready to go.
Luke,
Donald Trump pulled the plug on it.
I'm sure we'll all be happy that we've seen a massive plummet in border crossings in the last few months. And to the point that's previously made, there was legislation that could have done more. But even aside from that, there's been massive progress made. So Trump
how
would be
has there
inheriting a
been
situation
progress made if
even
Trump
better
stopped any... Well, hang
than-
on. If Trump
then
stopped
what- but
any
then I- but then I wanna
Sorry,
say-
hang on, Luke.
yeah.
If Trump stopped any progress, how are you making progress in the last few months?
No,
Explain
I'm
to me.
saying after finally, which I think they should have learned this lesson earlier, finally Democrats realized they weren't going to get support from Congress. Then Biden did what he could just through the executive
So why
branch.
didn't you do that before?
Yeah, I agree with you. He should have done it earlier.
Right,
But he was thinking we could do a
So it
more
wasn't Trump's
systemic
fault. It was just
solution.
bad, it was
No,
bad
hold on.
politics
Don't even-
by
wait,
a
that's
president
not-
who's
we
asleep
could
at the
do a
wheel.
The issue with doing
Systemic
things
solution.
right now.
Yeah.
The issue right now, we're crying over border wall stuff being sold. The issue with doing things by executive order is that things that can be done with executive order can be rescinded with executive order.
Right.
This way that we've approached border and immigration policy through presidential actions is insane. We need legislation from Congress. We need bills, comprehensive bills that are going to address the problem, not these temporary actions that the president can do via executive order. We shouldn't champion when that happens. Republicans used to be opposed to all of this encroaching federal power from the executive branch, but I guess now when it's Donald Trump, they celebrate it.
And then one just little stat to end us with.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll also credit the Biden administration with releasing less migrants with criminal records in the country than the Trump administration. You can look
I think
that
when
up.
you let in 10 million illegal immigrants in 4 years, you don't really get
I'm just
to make
saying
any,
less
you don't,
undocumented
you
immigrants
don't
with
get to
criminal
take any
records
victory
than
laps,
Trump.
Luke. Sorry. I'm afraid that's
You're
it.
saying your concern was about criminals. Okay.
My concern is about safety and security, as always. You've got to have a
And I'm
secure
saying
border.
that Trump actually released
As
more
Ronald
undocumented
Reagan
immigrants
said,
with
if you
criminal
don't have a
records.
secure border, you don't have a country. We've got to leave it there.
I don't think
Always
you
good
heard
to
me.
talk to you all. Thank you very much indeed. Well, returning to Uncensored now is the Harvard mathematician and podcaster, Dr. Eric Weinstein. Eric, great to see you again.
Piers, good to be with you.
I had a fascinating chat with your friend Peter Thiel, who I know you used to work with the other day. 19 minutes. What a really interesting character. So thank you for helping us get him over the line as a guest, because it was great.
Well, Unfortunately, he's very rich and controversial, so very often people don't get a chance to actually hear what he has to say, and thanks for giving him a chance to spread a lot of his ideas, which I think are very influential on both the left and the right. It's a very unique mind.
Yeah, and what I thought was very interesting, very thoughtful, took his time over every response. He didn't rush into responses. And his central premise, which was really interesting to me, that there's an impression we're making these tremendous strides and advances as a planet. And he thinks the opposite. He thinks we'd be going way too slowly, that actually we're not making many advances other than in the world of AI and tech. And if you took that out of it, in fact, we're going backwards as a planet in terms of our ability to be truly dynamic and innovative and creative. Do you agree with him?
Well, I would say that Peter and I have both come at this from two different places, he from technology and me from science. And in both cases, there are exceptions. So in technology, I would say the world of software, the world of computers, has been leaping forward, as everyone thinks. And I think that's clear to all of us. In the sciences, I would say certain areas of biology have been doing the same. But the stagnation is probably most pronounced in theoretical physics at its core, which people don't realize how much physics was responsible for the modern world, for the peace through the atomic weapons, for the economy through the semiconductor, communications through electromagnetic radiation that carries radio signals. And in fact, it founded molecular biology, mostly physicists. So the stagnation in physics is probably the most interesting part of that, because ultimately that's upstream of the economy. And I don't know whether you're aware of this recent couple of interviews that Mark Andreessen has done, where he's mentioned that he was told at the White House that AI would be going the way of physics, and that the federal government deliberately stagnated certain areas of physics, just the way they will do the same with AI, and that they've already chosen the winners. And this is something that you couldn't discuss years ago. It was introduced to me as the designated winner system, that we pick the winners first, and then we erect the narrative around them afterwards. This is somewhat true in economics, where we worked through the University of Chicago Economics Department. So it's a fascinating topic about whether or not the federal government, in part, has been behind certain areas of stagnation and certain areas of development.
Yeah, absolutely. When I last spoke to you in September, you told me you hadn't decided whether you were going to vote at all in November or who to vote for. Did you ultimately make a decision? Did you vote?
I certainly went to the polling place.
That's not quite the same as saying you voted.
Well, because I think the thing I feel most comfortable saying is that I was not able to vote for Biden in 2020, nor was I able to vote for Kamala Harris. Biden, in part, just because he was far too old, and I was already seeing the signs of cognitive decay. I don't know why the world didn't see that early on. It was clear as day. And in Kamala Harris's case, she was clearly, you cannot put a woman on the ballot saying democracy is on the ballot this time, who can't win a primary election,
right?
And just appoint a candidate. So in part, I feel like we were put in a really terrible position because, quite frankly, although most of my colleagues see a lot of the good that I see in the MAGA movement, it is also a big tent, and there are voices in that tent that, in my estimation, are very dangerous and need to be out of that tent, particularly surrounding kind of white nationalist and Christian identity, anti-Semitic stuff that gets targeted on me. And so, in part, I was shocked and horrified that those people weren't called out. I don't know whether you realize it, but the last time you asked me about names that were being called to me online, the people who were calling those names, one of them later revealed that they're angry that I'm not giving voice to Jared Taylor and Peter Brimelow and all sorts of people. And I think that in part you were duped into amplifying a non-story
Really?
in which the underbelly is we've heard far too much from the Jews. We need to make sure that the Jews aren't in positions of power this time around. So be very careful as to when you see controversy online. If you dig a little deeper, you often find that there's a complaint. In this case, it's the place that I'm not platforming Jared Taylor and Peter Brimelow, which I had no idea was behind that.
No, listen, I completely take that warning because I think it is dangerous. You've got to be very careful about the amplification point when it's being deliberately and malevolently laid out for people to fall into that trap of amplifying it.
Yep.
So I concur with you about that. If you went to a polling booth on election day and you couldn't bring yourself to vote for Kamala Harris, is it a massive stretch of my admittedly smaller brain to conclude that in the end you voted Trump?
I think you're trying to do something that I would prefer that you not do, which is, I'll be honest with you, I went to the polling place not knowing what I would do. I mean, literally, I just didn't see what I should do, because I see the problem with the Democrats. I mean, obviously, I think I've been on this longer than the MAGA people by decades. The key question is, you're ordering radiation therapy for the tumor that you've identified. And are you convinced that the radiation therapy is going to be in the right dose? One of the things that I've been most distressed about is hearing from people within MAGA that one of the first priorities is to smash America's elite universities. And I will not be having any of that. The elite universities are in terrible disarray, but most of the people who are saying things like science is over, universities are over, this can all be done inside of startups, just use a GoFundMe, et cetera, have no idea what they're talking about. They don't understand research universities. So one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is, how do you work with this group to get them out of the head where they've been targeted relentlessly, in my opinion, and unfairly, and that they will respond in positions of power potentially by lashing out at exactly what targeted them. And so in part you have this dire situation, which is that many people want all gates unkept because they don't like the concept of gatekeepers, having had bad gatekeepers. They don't like journalists who have behaved unethically, engaging in what I've called journo-painting, campaigning while being a journalist. They don't like science because they feel that Anthony Fauci lied to them. And so they're going into a sort of a Hulk mentality where, when angered, the Hulk just smashes things. And that's terrifying, that you would take what is effectively the endowment of the United States and destroy it because it recently targeted you when it was under bad management.
When you look at Donald Trump Mark II already, I mean, I've known him a long time. I've spoken to him 5 or 6 times in recent weeks. I've got to say, I'm detecting he is a changed man. Not in every way, but that the combination of surviving an assassination attempt and indeed surviving the second attempt, which could have been just as awful, plus the scale of his win and the lack of fury afterwards, unlike in 2016, without the mass protests, the blind fury and so on. The combination of these two things, almost like he feels like he's been spared with the assassination attempt, saved for something, and now he's got this mandate from his country, from his people, and actually he's now pretty popular. I mean, his personal approval ratings have never been higher, and he's looking like he's popular and has a mandate to potentially be a really historic president. Are you picking up that as well, or?
I'm picking up something like that. As a matter of fact, a lot of my fears about the incoming administration aren't coming from Trump. They're coming from my friends in the tech sector who I just didn't know what viewpoints they harbored. And so I'm going to try to talk to those folks. But getting back to Trump, you know him. I don't know him. I've never met Trump. I've never had a conversation with him, even over a phone. What I detect from outside is that he's been a misunderstood guy for a really long time.
Yeah.
I really do think that even if you think he's a narcissist, imagine, just stipulate to that for the moment. he would be a narcissist who would want to go down in the history books as one of the great presidents of the United States. And he now has an opportunity to do something. If all he did was get rid of the rot, or for example, just become the disclosure president, I think that he easily could become one of the most popular presidents in American history by just telling us about what we've been up to that hasn't made any sense. You know, I spoke out just this morning on X and said that I believe that the federal government knows what the drone situation is and just for whatever reason doesn't want to tell us. And you know, immediately I start getting abuse about what I'm a charlatan and a grifter and all this kind of stuff. And then, you know, an hour and a half later, I see a tape of Donald Trump saying exactly the same thing. Oh, we know what this is. We just don't want to say for some reason. And I think that what he's going to do potentially is to break the back of legacy structures. And then the question is, do we get something new in its stead? I would love to have journalism back. I think people who don't remember who Eric Severide is, you know, would be shocked that you can actually tune into your TV or, you know, your streaming service and get answers. And you can't do that now. The same thing with universities. You should be able to get an adjudication of where's the most likely origin of this COVID virus without the politics. So my sense is that Trump is somewhat of a changed man. I do believe that the first assassination attempt was very visceral. The second one indicates that he has to continue to worry. And I will point out that even as an end-of-year wrap-up, we've got 2 weeks to go, and it's a long time to January 20th. And I would just caution the incoming group not to pop the champagne corks and to be very careful about the exotic code that effectively has never run, that anticipates situations in which the country is in a state of emergency. Because you know, we've had the fall of Syria, we've had destabilization in the Middle East, we've had this situation with authorizing long-range missiles into Russia. Things have really heated up also since the election. We have to just take that into account.
Yeah, I completely agree. I also think if I'm Donald Trump, the Secret Service failed him. I mean, people talk about the golf course assassination attempt as a success. Actually, if it hadn't been for the vigilance of one Secret Service agent seeing a barrel of a rifle poking out of a bush, Trump would be dead. And that's not good enough. That guy was sitting in that bush for 12 hours on the perimeter of Trump's own golf course where he regularly plays golf. And he chose a place on the course where the media and the public go to get a clean photographic shot of Trump when he plays golf. So this did not take much work by the people charged to protect him to try and protect him properly. And the fact that they dropped the ball so soon after he was physically shot in another attempt, I find actually terrifying. And I'm amazed more hasn't been made of that.
You mean you're amazed that more hasn't been made out of the unemployed construction worker who was in Afghanistan recruiting ISIS fighters to fight in Ukraine or some such thing?
Right. Yeah, well, I think the stories behind both of them, actually, both these shooters, it's interesting how little we know. Certainly in relation to the first one in particular, we know so little about that guy. He nearly killed the president.
Are you familiar with my concept of anti-interesting?
Go on.
Something is anti-interesting when everybody wants to know more about it, but for some reason the official organs claim that, the public has moved on, there's no interest in that. You know, no need to beat a dead horse, or, you know, there's always a clamor for more detail because we don't have that nailed down enough yet. And you saw this with Amy Robach and the hot mic incident around Jeffrey Epstein. The fact is that these are two anti-interesting situations. And it's not that we don't happen to know more about these people. You can echolocate based on what doesn't give you an echo. So, for example, I would say that the Las Vegas shooting had too little echo on it, and both of these shootings have too little echo on them.
Yeah,
Sorry, the attempted shooting in the second case, but you know, I have to say, if the Democratic Party is justified in going after Donald Trump and saying there's no reason that he might not become a tyrant who refuses to leave office, it should be acceptable for the Republican Party and the incoming group to say, is there any sense that the deep state might be attempting to interfere with a disruptive president assuming the presidency? It shouldn't be the case that one side can raise the most outrageous claims and the other side has to say, oh, no, nobody mentioned continuity of government.
Right. Well, Eric, what would you say, when Trump stands up on the 20th of January, unless God willing, hope he does, but when he does, what would be the three big priorities you would like to see from Trump to genuinely make America great again? If you could script his speech and you had three big points which would genuinely make America great again, what would you personally like to hear him say?
Well, okay, you're catching me on the spot, but here goes nothing. The first thing, to be entirely honest, is that if he's going to face the problems of this country head on and honestly, I would like him to brace us all for massive disruption, sacrifice, and disappointment. This is something that we respond very well to when it's done by a leader who tells us that we're going to need to suffer, to sacrifice, we're going to feel the pinch, and it's going to hurt. If he doesn't do that, my concern is that people will be anticipating a golden age, and they're going to find out that our finances aren't going to allow that. And that we're in pretty dire straits. The second thing that he would do, in my opinion, would be that he would focus on restoring credibility in terms of real-time truthfulness. That you should be able to get an answer from your government on the New Jersey drones thing, like, please, we are conducting an operation that has some sensitivity and we don't want to incite speculation. Or it could be something even more fantastic. But you need to be able to communicate to people without pretending that you can continue to do this. So I would say real-time reliability. And then the last thing is a variant on that, which is to go back through the record and say, look, we can't afford to tell you all the things we've been up to. But here are many of the things that have affected your lives where, perhaps your children have gotten sick from a vaccine and we tried to get nobody to talk about it. Or, for example, maybe the JFK situation in November of '63 had some CIA involvement, whereas, the moon landings are absolutely a legitimate thing. So that we don't constantly have a country that's talking about conspiracy theories. Some of these conspiracy theories are real, some of them are completely stupid. And I think that those things, just to begin with, would be fantastic. The fourth thing that I really want to do is get back science. Science is the engine. It's our special sauce. It's what we do better than anyone else in the world. We started lying about Americans unable and unwilling to do science under the Reagan administration and a guy named Eric Bloch who took over NSF. And quite honestly, I think we're the best scientific force in the world. We're the world's smartest country. We're the world's best risk takers. And if we could do one thing that really, I think, would just rock our worlds, it's get rid of the rot that's been holding back physics, mathematics, and biology, and by far physics above everything else. We need to unleash American scientists, get them secure, happy, well-fed, rich. If you make your scientists relatively wealthy and prosperous, they don't have to be ridiculously wealthy and prosperous, but just right now they're precarious. They're part of the precariat. If we did that, I think what we could do is we could usher in a renaissance that would filter down to technology, startups, and the whole tech ecosystem. It would give us better national defense and would also, I'll just focus on what Elon is also focused on. Becoming an interstellar species is the dream that we should be harboring. And the fact that that sounds like a fairy tale and that sounds like a will-o'-the-wisp is very dangerous. That's the next level. That's where we're supposed to be. And it's time to clear string theory out of the way and get back to doing the physics that rocks the world.
Yeah, I completely agree. And actually, that's why I'm excited that Elon Musk is there all the time with Trump, because he gets all this. And I've talked to him about it, and his big picture passion and planning is unbelievable. And it should be that kind of aspiration that is harnessed. If you genuinely want to make America great again, then this is the way to go. Think big. As Trump, I think Trump actually wrote a book called Think Big and Kick Ass. That's not a bad mantra for his new administration. Maybe I'll suggest it too. He should say that at the end of his inauguration speech. We're going to think big and kick ass.
And kick ass. You know, the thing that I would love to do is I would love to have a public debate with Elon about whether chemical rockets or theoretical physics is the best stepping stone to the stars. And it would be great to have multiple points of view where people are agreed on the biggest tasks possible, things that seem inconceivable. Radical longevity, for example, to age 200. We don't know what we're capable of, but we stopped dreaming the Jetson dreams, and it's time to get back to them. Yeah,
I agree. Eric, great to talk to you. Please come back again soon. I love having you on Uncensored. Brings me a whole new elite level of cerebral brilliance, which I love. Thank you.
Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in the future, sir.
Thank you very much, and the same to you.